So the question for this week is, have you ever been involved in a crisis in a school or work setting, and how did you handle the situation? So I used to work with probation at DCFS kids at a residential facility. And the only thing I can think of, we had a lot of physical altercations between our girls. Our probation girls, they had no coping skills. They came from abusive families. And so they just didn't know how to deal with conflict. And so they just ended up, fighting with one another. And there were a few times where they actually attacked staff. But one time that I can think of is when I was working at the school as dean of students. And we had only about 24 girls in 3 classrooms. It's a non-public on-ground school. And all of our girls were emotionally disturbed, in addition to probably another kind of disability. And so I was down the street at a training, and I got a text saying that all of my girls, because I was in charge of behavior at the school, and I got a text saying that all of my girls were outside fighting. And this was in a residential facility, and in a residential area. The residential facility was down the street in a residential area. The school was, like I said, down the street in a residential area. And so there was houses. And one of our biggest concerns had always been, make sure that we keep all of our issues in the house so that we're not calling the police or disturbing the neighbors. And so when I got this text that my girls were outside fighting, I literally got up and just ran down the street. And I reacted exactly how I knew I should have, even though nobody had really told me how to react. I looked to those staff that I knew I could count on, and I said, you need to get these girls inside, the girls that were just kind of watching. And then I went to the one girl that was the instigator, and I tried to bring her back to baseline. So I tried to calm her down, and I assigned another staff to another female, and another one of my staff already had the third. And so in doing that, I think I handled it pretty well. There was no more fights. All of the other girls that were just spectators were taken inside where they could be safe, and where they weren't adding to the drama. I think that working at that facility really trained me in that type of stuff, because I couldn't really run from it. And if anything really bad happened, then I would get in trouble. And I think the fear of getting in trouble, unfortunately, that helped. But one thing that I'm learning as I am interning, and as I read this article that you posted for week 7, the role of the school counselor in a crisis situation, I'm kind of worried because I don't know what my role is. And so I think I read somewhere where it said that about 30% of administrators and 30% of teachers or staff thought that the school counselor should be in charge of dealing with a crisis situation. I forgot where that part is, but it sounded like there was just a bunch of confusion amongst staff, and that's something that I would not want. I would want to know what my role is, and I want it to be very clear, and I'd want to know what everybody else's role is, because now we're talking about deaths, suicide, school shootings, and that's not something that I want to be surprised with. So going back tomorrow, I'm actually going to go and ask for crisis protocol and what we should do. And maybe if they don't have one or it's outdated, I can, help and get that revised.